Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. As always, likes, comments, and subscriptions are appreciated as they do indeed help with my YouTube algorithm rankings. Today's video is going to be about what I believe are the top 5 underrated or undervalued comics on VeVe. That is VE. VE is an app that you are able to download that deals in carbon neutral NFTs. Usually a large portion of the platform, at least at the time of me making this video, revolves around collectibles, which tend to be statues and or figurines of famous comic book character heroes and or comic books themselves. For context, I'm making this video because I have been personally myself into comic books since I was 9 years old. I was taught by my uncle, hello out there if you're watching, who taught me not only about comic books but about their value, key appearances, the really important comics to look for and to buy to add to your collection. I have seen a growing number of people making videos about VeVe and what they personally believe are the undervalued comics. At the moment, at least at the time of me making this video, we are told or have seen the numbers that there are roughly around 1.4 to 1.5 million people on the VeVe app. VeVe, as far as I understand, was launched at the end of 2020. But however, since the last 3 to 4 months, its popularity has absolutely skyrocketed. And since a large amount of people have gone onto the app now, a lot of prices of collectibles and comics on the app have also risen as well. Thus, the other people making these videos about what they believe are the actual undervalued comics. I'm here making this video to tell you what the actual undervalued comics are, but I will get into that in a second. Before, I was known as a crypto YouTuber. My main hobby and I still do it, and my main job, don't do that anymore, was buying and selling comics. I love it. It's kind of what really gets me going. I know it sounds a little nerdy or cheesy. I don't really care. However, I've been doing that since around 2015, 2016 when I was a full-time seller on eBay. I have a personal collection, me, myself, of comics of thousands of comics. I know the key issues, that is to say, like the first appearance or the first time that someone has appeared in something. This is known as a key issue. I know the history, I know the backstory, and I know a lot about these characters. And my personal thing that I like to do is I like to collect what they call foreign comics. Comics in different languages from different parts of the world that usually you cannot or would not be able to acquire in North America, such as Japanese, German, French, Spanish comics, the entire whole thing. So, as I mentioned before, I've seen a lot of other YouTubers discussing what they believe are the most undervalued comics on VeVe. Normally, what they tend to say is they will mention the Uncanny X-Men, number 129, which is the first appearance of Kitty Pryde. A lot of times I've seen that they say that these comics to them are undervalued in comparison to the prices of other comics that are currently on the website, i.e., if there is a comic that is currently selling for $400, $500, maybe $550, $600, but another comic is selling for $29, $31, $34.99, this usually makes their list of, well, if that comic can go up, this comic is also going to go up as well. While Uncanny X-Men 129 is the first appearance of Kitty Pryde, she is not a very popular character. Of course, there are going to be people out there who love her, love what she can do. She can run through walls. That's absolutely incredible, but she does not carry the same amount of popularity that Wolverine does, Storm does, Jean Grey does, Professor Xavier, etc., etc. Another one that people keep saying is, now, this is going to be a lot of content. So, I need to warn you beforehand. First of all, I am not a professional investment advisor. Take anything that I say here with an literal grain of salt. I am simply a person standing in front of a camera talking to you about comic books. On that topic, side note, make sure that you understand that I am going to be revealing a lot of spoilers in this video, so if you have not seen the full list of all the Marvel movies and or all the Marvel TV shows that are now on Disney Plus, not affiliated, just letting you know that for right now. There will be a lot of spoilers. Have to make sure to say that because sometimes I say things that people are like, why just say it? The other comment that a lot of people keep mentioning is, what if Spider-Man joined the Fantastic Four? This comic is, and I'll be nice, this comic is not popular and will not be popular for a very long time. This is a hyper-speculative issue. That is if, as we are currently breaking into the multiverse trend of comic books from around 2011 to 2012 to 14, 15, maybe even 2016, if this storyline will at some point enter into the Marvel Universe. Spider-Man does, I think, 3 times actually become a member of the Fantastic Four for like 2 issues. That's about it. Besides that, this issue holds absolutely no weight. And also on top of that, we have the Web of Spider-Man 118, the first appearance of Ben Reilly. Also not a popular character and probably will never be a popular comic. And the #1 comic that I keep hearing other people say is extremely undervalued simply because of its name is Marvel's #1. My blood boils every single time I've watched another video with someone announcing, well, clearly Marvel Comics #1 is worth $600, $400, $500, $700. Something called Marvel's #1 has to do the exact same thing. No first appearances, no credible characters. It is a rehash of another story that no one ever cared about. This is why a lot of times you will hear me say, and I've mentioned before, a lot of the comics and collectibles on VeVe are filler. Filler is a nice word for it, and should basically be avoided, in my experience, at all costs. So without further ado, I had to give you the actual context behind all of it just so you really understand that I'm not simply making a video going, well, I think this one is undervalued because no one's buying it. No. Number 5, in actual underrated, undervalued comics on VeVe are New Mutants number 98. You may know Deadpool. Of course you do. You probably have seen the other movies that were out before, and it has been rumored that he is going to be reintroduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe as he was before in kind of his own little bubble with a movie, with Colossus, what have you. It had no actual relevance to the Marvel world. Marvel, and therefore Disney, as they are able to gain back the rights from a lot of these characters and put them into the actual Marvel Cinematic Universe, they use them as much as they possibly can. Deadpool is a major character, not even having come into contact with Spider-Man, who is also a very common character that he plays with or pays attention to inside of the comic books. He also hasn't come into full contact with Wolverine yet, and the X-Men are also going to be introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it has been rumored that they are also doing casting for it right now. A lot of the issues that a lot of comic collectors tend to have with New Mutants 98, it is believed, I don't think there are any actual official numbers, but it is believed that the actual print run or the edition run, or the amount of issues of this comic that were made are probably near and or over 1 million issues. For reference, normally whenever a comic book comes out, whether it be, usually Wednesday is comic book day, they tend to have anywhere between normally a 75,000 to a 150,000 print run, meaning 150,000 of them are created. This is usually for an issue 1 of something. Of course, as you get to issue 4, it kind of eventually tapers off, but that's usually besides the point. So for something to have 1 million print run is quite rare. The only other comic that really comes to mind is Spawn #1, I think from 91 or 92. I think it's 91, 92. Which also was so hyped at the time that they made a gigantic print run. And the comic also #1, you can still find Spawn #1 for under $100, even though it is one of the most popular characters out there. The reason why New Mutants number 98 is actually undervalued on the VeVe app has to do with the fact that regardless of the actual physical print run of the comic book, this is still an incredibly sought after, hard to find, in a high grade rarity of this comic. The thing with VeVe comics, as we've discussed this also before, is these comics will always be in mint condition. As time goes on, comics as they are paper will begin to degrade. The plastic hardcover things, CGC, CBCS slabs that they are in, will also fall apart as well. VeVe Comics will not. They will be mint condition forever, and this is a portion of why they have and will continue to have in the future a high amount of collectability, if you will. I think that the current prices, the last time I looked, they were roughly between $40 to $60 for the common version of New Mutants 98. I think once nearly all of these have actually been taken off of the market, sorry if there's so much information at once, but I really need you to understand exactly what's going on VeVe and also in the actual comic book world. For reference, if this is $1 million for the actual print run of New Mutants 98, this many of them are actually in, in like near mint condition. On VeVe, I believe the print run for New Mutants 98 was around 60,000. At any given time, depending on when you look or when you are looking at the VeVe app, there's only, I think, 600 of the New Mutants actually left for 1.5 million users on the app. More and more keep disappearing every single day, and we will eventually get to a point where, as we've been seeing, whales will buy all of these things and they aren't planning on selling anytime soon. I wholeheartedly believe the actual realistic current value of New Mutants 98 should be anywhere between $150 to $300 on the VeVe app. Don't quote me on that, but even for a long time, a lot of my friends who I also got into the app and other comic book collectors who I know who are on the app, it was sitting at $11 for the first appearance of a major character who's only going to get more popular. So yes, New Mutants 98 is incredibly undervalued, and I think as the year goes on, people are going to be quite shocked, especially if Deadpool is at any point this year announced to have his own movie or appear in a TV show. People are going to be blown away. Why did I not buy this thing when it was $11? Right. Number 4 on the list is, ironically, X-Men number 4, or the Uncanny X-Men number 4, depending on how you want to talk about it. It is the first appearance of the Scarlet Witch and also Quicksilver. Quicksilver, as many times as they've tried to make him into the Flash of the Marvel Universe, it just really didn't work out. He's not really that popular. He has a pretty cool ability. He can run really fast, what have you, but the actual figurehead is the Scarlet Witch. If you have watched WandaVision on Disney Plus, and also, spoiler, if you have watched the last Spider-Man movie, at the very end of the movie, you saw that it was a trailer, like the after credit scene for the next Doctor Strange movie. Doctor Strange in that movie is going to be partnering up with the Scarlet Witch, as she and he are two of the most powerful mutants in the entire universe. Marvel is not going to let the Scarlet Witch die or fall apart or in any capacity not be one of the forefront leaders of the actual Marvel universe. A lot of people, when you look at the cover of Marvel Comics number 4, you see Magneto prominently, you see Scarlet Witch on the side, and Quicksilver is kind of like in the other corner. A lot of people really don't understand her significance, and I've really understood over the last couple of months that a lot of people who are just getting into VeVe, it's fine. You weren't as obsessed with comics as I have been for the last 20 or something odd years. So it's fine to understand that you've seen her before, or she fought Thanos, but really not understand the context of how big she actually is and how strong her powers actually are. This is, I don't even know the current price on VeVe. This is easily, hear me out on this one. As the years go on and people realize who she actually is and her context in the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years of Marvel movies, because Marvel just doesn't do a 2-year thing. It's going to be year after year after year after year after year. She's going to continue to be there, and she's only going to get stronger, especially if you saw the end of WandaVision. The common of this is going to go for easily between $500 to $800 in the next couple of months, especially as we get closer to the actual next movie. Why I say these numbers, and this is actually how I not choose to invest in things on VeVe, but just realistically, it's kind of I can't explain it to you. My mind thinks about numbers in a very weird way. I told a bunch of my friends when we first got into VeVe around, I want to say it was August, September of 2021. I think that's the time frame. I remember it was very warm outside. I was wearing a t-shirt. And I quickly realized that so many comics on the app were selling for under retail. Retail was $6.99. Some of these comics were selling for $4, $5, even like $9. And I was like, these are major first appearances of characters. And then I told my friends, I said, I'm fairly certain, I named the comics as well, which we're going to actually, for the common version, we're going to go over $1,000. One of them, of course, being Marvel Comics #1 and Amazing Spider-Man #1, which are not in this list because it's not that they're undervalued. The price is already kind of high on the app, but I still think the common. If you think I'm absolutely insane, talk back to me in like 2 or 3 years. I'm pretty certain that the common of Marvel Comics #1 and Amazing Spider-Man #1, this isn't even talking about Amazing Fantasy 15, which is if VeVe will ever actually release that. These two comics alone, I'm certain, will go anywhere between $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 just for the actual common. Because people need to understand that people who are buying these comics have no intention of like rapidly selling. You'll see things on the marketplace, people are selling it completely for crazy low prices, but when you actually look at the whales, or even to be real about it, me and my friends who are buying these comics, I'm not selling anytime soon. I know the actual value of these comics in the paper real world, and everyone's waiting for those actual numbers to be hit as well for the digital versions. Anyway, moving along, that was number 5 and number 4. The next one, now here's a really good one. Spoiler, if you have watched Loki on Disney Plus, and I tell a lot of people to watch these things who I know are actually into VeVe. I think sometimes it goes over their head and they simply don't want to, but I'm trying to help you in some sort of capacity. Number 3 is Avengers #8, the first appearance of Kang. VeVe has a very interesting dynamic. It is very, it is speculated that the reason why they choose edition size numbers on the app actually has to do with Marvel. I don't know if that's true. I think it's people trying to give them a pass because a lot of times the original comics on VeVe had an edition size of 60,000. Then they lowered it to 30,000. And a lot of comics have edition sizes of 10,000 and also one of only 1,000 editions. Wow, amazing. Part of my problem is that the people on VeVe keep bragging about how they have over 1 million, 1.2 million, 1.4 million people who are using their app, but the edition sizes continue to decrease, whatever the actual case might be. The Avengers #8 was the first comic, I believe, that had a very limited edition release on the VeVe app and only had 10,000 editions. It's the first appearance of Kang, and once again, if you've watched the very end of, or the entirety of Loki on Disney Plus, you will know that this is the beginning of the cataclysmic multiverse event where things basically break down because of the death of a character. Kang is going to be the actual big bad, as they call them in the Marvel movies. So you know how like Thanos was introduced at some point in the last chunk of the Marvel movies, and he was around for 2, 3, 4, 5 years. He kept on popping up every now and again. Kang is going to be the Thanos of this actual movie series plot time period. Kang also has many iterations. They haven't been released yet on the VeVe app. He becomes a pharaoh and all these other things. The idea is that you, in a multiverse, have millions of other copies of yourself, and Kang also has them as well. Kang, however, who is introduced in Marvel Comics #8, is the worst iteration of himself, of all the other ones. He is the most violent, he's the most rude, he's the most mean. And yeah, I think a lot of people, when they saw, or they are currently valuing Avengers #8 on the VeVe app, where it is, I think it's around $200 or $300 because of the 10,000 limited editions. People don't understand who Kang is. Kang is still around in the comic books. He's still just as vicious as ever. And if he actually is going to be around for the next 5 to 8 years in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and probably in the next Avengers movie, because they've already cast the guy as well, just get ready because people thought they saw high prices for this comic before. I also own a couple of these in foreign languages. They're very, very difficult to find. I think I have it in German. I think I have one in Italian. And oh gosh, what are the other ones I don't remember? But I made sure to buy a couple of these as well because a lot of people before weren't paying attention to the foreign editions of this, and you could get them, I mean, $14, and some of them are selling for $200 or $300 now on eBay. So make sure to watch out for Kang, because the moment he's introduced, and I've seen the trend on VeVe, the moment someone is actually introduced, I mean in any way, in a trailer or something, people go completely insane on VeVe and go, oh, how did we not know? It's just a, just kind of complete logic if you look at all the signs. Number 2 on the list is Avengers number 57. For those of you who do not know, this is actually one of my favorite comic books in the entire world. When they first introduced him in the last Marvel cinematic bundle, to say I was hyped was completely an understatement. It is the first appearance of the Vision being the husband, boyfriend, cyborg partner of the Scarlet Witch. The Vision is, I can't even contextually put it into words, probably one of the most important characters in the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. In the comic book, this is also a very good point. In the actual comic books, he's still around. He's a member of multiple Avenger-type-esque teams. He is, I can't even put it into actual words without making this video like another 45 minutes and trying to explain to you exactly who the Vision is. On VeVe, I've noticed this was another comic that people simply really didn't get who he was. I think a lot of people didn't watch WandaVision, which is a complete mistake because it explains so much more of what's going to happen in the movies. But also the idea of the Vision, I don't think they really understand his impact. There was a long period where New Mutants 98 on the app was $11. I remember buying some for like $6 and I was like, why is it below retail? The first appearance of the Vision for a good 3 or 4 months was like $12, $18. The last I looked, I think it was between $45 and $60. I don't remember the exact, moment that I was looking at it, but those were kind of the prices. When people once again realize who the Vision actually is and his impact on the Marvel Universe, and also probably more than likely a season 2 of WandaVision. I told you there were going to be tons of spoilers, just kind of take it for what it is. And who the Vision becomes and what he's actually capable of. I think a lot of people are going to be very upset with themselves. I easily see this comic being, and I mean on a low level, because there's only, I think, 200 or 300 of the commons actually left. I think an edition size of 30,000. It's going to be going over $500 around the same exact time that we see a $2,000 or $3,000 Marvel Comics #1. So just kind of keep that one in your back pocket, because $50-something right now is actually laughable. I made sure to pick up more than a few over the last couple of weeks. #1 is probably the easiest #1 that I've had in a very long time. I don't think that people understand who this character is. I don't think people understand this character's popularity. I'm waiting for the full, I'm going to use the word blowout. I don't know why, it just sounds completely proper here, of people really understand who exactly Miles Morales is. The #1 comic on VeVe that I say is not even undervalued, it's like mega destructed undervalued, is Ultimate Fallout #4. This is the first appearance of Miles Morales, who is currently in the comic books Spider-Man. Surprise! I mentioned that before in another video, but I'm here to tell you once again, Miles Morales is currently the Spider-Man in the actual comic books. He even had a comic series. It was called Ultimate Spider-Man. He had his own one called Spider-Man. He also had one with Peter Parker because fans were losing their minds that Peter Parker wasn't around anymore and had actually moved to Japan in the comic books, called Spider-Men, where it was both of them acting together. Miles Morales is an alternate universe version of Peter Parker. If you saw the, once again, spoilers, if you saw the last Spider-Man movie, you may have noticed there were 3 Spider-Mans. What? Yeah, I know, crazy, right? It's because they're bringing together the entire idea of the multiverse thing. Does anyone out there remember, as Electro lay lying on the ground, losing his powers, what he said? Anyone? If you remember, that's Miles Morales. People have, I mean, the idea of Miles Morales being in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been thrown around for a very long time. It is rumored that they are casting and or have casted Miles Morales already, like as the actual character, who he's going to be. The common version of this comic at one point was actually lower than the other, I mean, I'll show them on the screen. over and over and over, just so you understand exactly what the comics were. These comics were selling more than the first appearance of the brand new Spider-Man. Miles Morales is currently the leader, the head, whatever, of many different Avengers type things, which are also going to be introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. One of them being the Young Avengers, which then also kind of becomes the Champions, which are still out there right now. I can't understate how gigantic Miles Morales is going to be. If you look at the physical copies of Ultimate Fallout number 4, the common cover, which is actually the first print of the comic book, when it was announced that they were making a second part to the Spider-Verse movie, if you haven't seen the first, I'm not sure what you're doing with your life. Go watch the movie. It's animated, but it is absolutely excellent. That they're making a part 2 to it. The first print, which is the common on VeVe, was shot up to around $3,000 to $4,000 by itself, just for the first print. The other prints, of course, the second print is the uncommon. The third print, which actually doesn't even, rare on VeVe doesn't actually exist as a cover, and I'm also going to explain that one to you as well because it's very significant. And the ultra rare on VeVe being the third print cover. The actual secret rare on VeVe was resting for some reason for a long time between $1,600 and $1,800. And I sat there with my friends, I'm going to be honest with you, trying to figure out exactly how many of them that I should buy. The secret rare cover on VeVe is one of the hardest to find comic books of the modern age, that is to say after 1992, like when you talk about actual rarity of comics, it's almost impossible to find. I've had to actually buy them in other languages, which I'm actually pretty happy that I did. I have it in French, I have it in German, and I have a couple of them in Russian. Very excited about that. It's impossible to find. I think that the movements that we're currently seeing on VeVe, the last time I looked, Ultimate Fallout 4 for the common, I believe, was $140, but there's still a bunch of other comics that are going for $110, $115 that have no first appearances, no context to them. They're not key issues. They're simply things that other people on VeVe's Twitter, on Reddit, on their Discord are continuing to hype up by saying, well, there's not a lot left. It's the first appearance of the Hulk on the comic book cover. Nothing on VeVe is a first appearance of the Hulk as of yet. That is the Incredible Hulk, or simply the Hulk, whatever. Issue number 1 from like 1962. It is still not on the platform. I bring you this video, and I can definitely make another one if you really want for me to kind of go in depth into other comics. So there are more than 5 comics on VeVe that I look at sometimes with a side eye, and I have to like go and get more gems because the prices on these things are incredibly low. We are going to, at some point in the next 3 to 5 years after Miles Morales is actually introduced in the movies, we are going to see the actual physical first print copy go for over $5,000. I dare even say $5,000 to $7,000 because collectors are hoarding them. There's also other characters who still haven't been introduced to VeVe, and they're going to be quite big, and I will definitely talk about them as they are actually released. When the first print physical copy is going for $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, we are going to see a $1,500 Ultimate Fallout 4 on the VeVe app. So just make sure that you are aware that this is going to be absolutely major. And if you need to do so, please understand or maybe read about exactly how gigantic Miles Morales actually is. He's also constantly making like top 10 sale lists and has been doing so since around 2017, I want to say. People actually wrote him off as a character for a very long time. I have my own reasons as I know exactly why they did that. But yeah, people realized who he was, how popular he was going to be, and you could even find like his actual physical print copy, like the first appearance in 2017, even 16, you could still find it for like $5. So I may have some of those. So yeah, I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope that you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening, and I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.